Hello. A lot of people who know me know that I used to teach, and I used to teach third grade and fourth grade. And I was asked recently to do a video concerning education. And I said, I really don't do a lot of that anymore. And I do more with my floral shop and things like that. But then I got to thinking about the first lesson I taught every single year. And I thought, a lot of people have just finished conferences with teachers and they're finding out maybe their child's behind in something or struggling with something. And it made me think of the first lesson I taught every single year to my kids as far as a planned lesson to help them. And I referred back to this all year long, all the time. And I thought, this works for everybody, not just students. But I'm going to use spelling as an example. And here's what happens. I myself have a learning disability. And once I figured out how to overcome that learning disability, I excelled as a student. But it took a long time and a lot of work. I didn't really read fluently until probably the end of what we now call middle school. By 7th grade, I started actually reading, and I learned how to read by reading to my sister, who was a little kid at the time, and that practice helped me. So practice, and that's what this is called, practice, practice, practice. We're going to talk about spelling, and we're going to use the example of studying for spelling as the example for this. So my first student is an A to B grade student, gets A's to B's. My other student is averaging from C's to F's, and F, of course, being failing. A lot of times what people do is, or what students and human beings in general, think that they're not very smart, and they think they get bad grades because they're not very smart, and that's not necessarily true. It's usually that someone does better than you at something because they've had more practice and quality practice. And to prove that, I'm going to give you this example. You see what you think. I had a teacher teach this to me, and I've always found it to be very helpful. So here's the thing. Every week, a teacher will give your student a list of spelling words. So when they're given that list of words, they look at that list of words, hopefully. The teacher will review the list of words. She'll say what each word is and probably give a vocabulary definition of the word. When that happens, each child just got to practice. So then every day that teacher is going to review that list, okay? So unless your child is missing, and if your child misses a lot of school, they're missing a practice. So let's say it's a week where little Timmy, for some reason, couldn't make it, or little Susie, and they missed. So normally there's 5 days in a week. On the 5th day, they're going to take that test. So in class, they've had a minimum of 4 more practices, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4. This one missed a practice. 1, 2, 3. You can already see what's happening. Every day, student AB's mom picks up both students. When she picks them up, they get in the car and they talk about their day. What'd you do in school today? Hey, while I'm thinking about it, spell the word contagious for me. And so they start spelling, and her student jumps right in and starts trying to spell it. Spells it wrong, but tries. Student C through F is looking out the window at their friend over on the sidewalk still and not paying attention. Just by trying, that student has gotten another practice. They get home that night, and it's the first night of the week, and the one family says, you know what, we're busy, we got stuff to do tonight, we've got stuff at soccer and this and that and the other thing, we don't have time. Student AB's mom says, you know what, I want you to take 5 minutes and look over this list with me. Let's talk about it while I'm cooking supper. They go over the list, they talk about words and what they mean. Don't even spell, just look at the words and talk about what they mean. This one had another practice, this one went to ball practice. Of course, the next day, teacher's practicing in class, we already have those recorded. Mom picks them up again the next day. She says, okay, everybody should have looked at those words. I'm going to throw one out for each one of you. Let's practice. She throws the first child a word. Child practices, gets it wrong. She gives him the correct spelling, tells him to do it again. He spells it again. Gives the word to the other child, does the same thing. Each one just got to practice. I don't think it takes much to figure out how long it gets before that other child has had that practice. When you're practicing with a child, another thing I want you to be aware of is called saturation. The brain can only take so much information in at a time. So if you're spending more than 15 minutes practicing spelling words, facts, whatever it is with your child, you're going to reach a point of what's called saturation. And saturation actually does this to a child. Say this child, C through F, waits till the night before to study for the first time. And that parent is hammering that kid, keep practicing, keep practicing. And they've been at those words for over a half an hour. They had very little practice to begin with, right? Because of saturation, they start to lose what they've learned. It starts to go backwards. They can't retain. And so if you do enough of that in the evening, you've already taken them back. Little bits at a time, every single day, done in a fun way, is a better way to practice. The best way to practice is the child sees the word, the child says the word, and the child hears the word. Because then you're affecting lots of different things within our brain, lots of neural pathways to retain that information. So it's not that this child is any smarter. They probably could have the very same IQ. It's just that this child had more practice and better practice. And that's why they consistently get good grades. The same is true with adults. You know, we get good at anything we practice, folks. If you practice being someone who's not very kind or not very forgiving or not very good as a person, you're going to get really good at being nasty. If you practice being kind, forgiving, and moving on and letting go, you're going to be a pretty happy person, and you're going to be kind of an A-plus quality person. So practice really does make perfect, and perfect practice makes for a perfect person or perfect grades. And that's our lesson for today. Thanks for tuning in. This is Accent Floral in Columbus, Nebraska, and my name is Tammy Hempstead. Thanks for watching. Bye.